every such connection has 6 different states. STRIDE. Any one of them will happen here if they are connected. If they are not connected, it is not happening. So it is a property of the thread vector. These are the thread vectors. Now for each of these, this spoofing identity, it will have lot of vectors. Thread vectors mean a collection of lot of things, right? Vector, what is vector? You did vector analysis, probably at least sometime in your life, in your college, you have done the vector analysis. Many decades ago. Yeah. Vector means a one-dimensional array, nothing else. Matrix, lot of numbers are together. Vector means one-dimensional array. In fact, in physics also we have studied vector, scalar and vector. In mathematics, it's the same thing actually. In mathematics, vector means like it's one single number, and if it is a one-dimensional array, then we are calling it vector. In physics also it is the same thing. For one quantity, it has only one thing, and it has different things. X, maybe Y is the direction, Z is another direction. So all these things. If you need more than one parameter to define that quantity, then we are calling it vector. That's what you read in physics, right? Something has a value and direction. It can that be is the direction or one direction. Sorry? It can be either direction. Unidirectional or bidirectional? Physics में वेक्टर किया था थोड़ा सा फिजिक्स पे चले जाओगे क्लास 8 फिजिक्स में पढ़े थे ना वेक्टर एंड स्केलर नहीं एनी डायरेक्शन अ फोर्स इज अ वेक्टर बिकॉज इट मैंने इसको लाइक 7 पास्कल फोर्स डाला दैट डजंट मीन एनीथिंग इट मीन्स कौन सा डायरेक्शन में डाल रहे हो द डायरेक्शन मैटर्स right? So that's why force is a vector because more than one parameter is required, right? Okay, the question we asked was based on this particular example because you were saying X, Y, Z and this direction. So we just want to. Oh no, this just please don't confuse it. This is just a physics. I was just trying to connect because like when I first come up with a vector, when in a vector analysis, my teacher was teaching vector. I was thinking probably in the last page. I was sitting there and thinking. अरे वेक्टर तो मैंने वो पढ़ा था फिजिक्स में था एंड ये कैसे यहाँ से ऐसे हो गया व्हाई दिस ऑल दिस थिंग्स ही इज डूइंग व्हाई हाउ दिस टू आर रिलेटेड देयर मस्ट बी सम रिलेशन सो वो रिलेशन बाद में मुझे पता चला अच्छा उस टाइम में तो मैंने सोचा था तो सेमेस्टर की पहले दिन अगला दिन मैंने पढ़ना था वो एग्जाम देना था दिन भूल भी गया but then sometimes that question was there then when I was doing my MTech that time again vector analysis came and then वो question फिर सवाल फिर से आया then so this is a vector right vector is nothing but a one dimensional so S is a vector proof of identity and इसका it has lot of different values ठीक है okay चलो देखते हैं वो value कौन सा है we'll see that okay so we know all these things I'm not covering again we know how to draw a process how to draw a component we know that yes, let us then directly go to the Microsoft Thread Modeling tool. I think these things are already covered, So let's go to the Microsoft Thread Modeling tool then. Let's go this over here. Windows 11 has bugs. This taskbar is sometimes disappearing. New version, chalo. Let us do it with the old version. This template. So, have you ever had a chance to look what a template means? I think this is the first time we're looking. We did it in the form of Excel. Okay. We didn't use the. I may be wrong. Yeah, not as yes. We got the file from right? Yeah, we got a file. So what happens is we just need to do the mapping, copy paste the cells. Put it in Excel, not in the. Got it. So I believe that Excel file, if it is a stride, that Excel file is created from this XML actually. Yes, it is a free one. Where is Notepad plus plus? Oh. So here you can see, okay, I believe this is very difficult to understand from here. How can I show that? Okay, I'll show you that actually this is nothing but that spreadsheet is created from this XML file where it says that all this how many possible ways to do the spoofing attack. There are a list. These are the checklist. So fine. At the end of the day, our target is to create a checklist for the developer. That's why we are doing threat modeling, right? That's why we are doing all these mental exercise and this. More you think, more you will find that how to do that, how to find it. Is it like a Visio kind of thing? It's Visio. Actually, it's based on Visio. So here in the right hand side, you can see there is something lot of generic process. These are the component. You have external interactor. You have data store. You have generic data flow. All these things, right? Trust boundary. What is a trust boundary, by the way? Since you have already done a threat modeling, what is a trust boundary?
Trust boundary is our corporate zone, and the users of the internet are untrusted.
Okay.
What are you defining basically as a trust boundary? Where you feel it is secure, your process, your system, your data is secure.
Whenever the access control changes, we are putting it inside a trust boundary. So yeah, trust boundary is not always a trusted one. That there might be an untrusted trust boundary. That means whenever say I have a this system, this is everything running. If all the files running here is a trust boundary I can put. Now if I give you a FTP access to my machine, the trust boundary changes because I am giving somebody else, right? So whenever data flows from one access control level to another access control level, it is crossing a trust boundary. Fine? Clear? Now let us quickly draw something. In the bank website we are thinking. So we have a web application, we have a web service. Maybe this web server is running inside some. There is a waste process as well. Web server I have taken, right? Web app. Sorry. Yeah, client I am taking. So this is something inside process. These are the process I need. Then external interactor. Here the browser will come. That's what you are saying, right? Browser client. Browser client is I think the JS applications. Those are calling. They are calling browser client. These are JS applications. This is the application that runs on your browser. There are human user. Two type of human user we have. We have a data store. So now who has created like the architect for this web server, they would know that what data store he is using. I'm assuming he is using a SQL database. Let us assume that for. Okay. And now there are the data flows. Now let us quickly put them here. So the web application, which is kind of accessed by the internet user. Few. Yes, I'm putting that. Okay, once the name is yes, user. Uh, the web application. This is a web service. We have another human user, which is the employees. We have a data store. We have a browser. I am assuming employees are also accessing everything with browsers, maybe. They might have a different application or they can use the browser as well. I'm just opening this one. And there is some waste process which okay. Now internet user and browser. Let us connect them. So what would be the data flow? HTTPS, obviously. Let us assume it is HTTPS. This one and this one. And web app, now this browser and web application, that might be a simple binary data flow or it might be RPC. Let us assume browser, no, sorry, browser to web application. I think this doesn't come here. Browser to web application, it is HTTPS. Actually, when we are putting browser, it is the internet user. Usually, human user means when they are accessing it with other interfaces. So browser, actually, I can delete it and we can call this browser as the internet user. Yes. Intruders, yes. Okay. Also, the same thing happens like the web application also sends something back to the browser. It is a fine. Now this web application is also connected with web service, right? That usually happens, and usually inside the network it is a HTTP connection. People use HTTP connection inside. Its user interface is not very good, not very sophisticated. It's very primitive one, unfortunately. Yeah, it's very primitive, but it actually gives some good idea about what's happening. See, I think this process to let us now see. Now for usually web server to SQL database, what connection usually we do? Let's call it binary connections. That is a generic one. Usually it is ODBC or JDBC, something like that. I'm taking it as a binary connection. Now the employees can directly access. I'm missing my mouse. there is one more challenge I have.
Just remove the book and
On the glasses, it will not work, right? It will not, because what happens? This is a laser beam. It goes reflects from the surface. So if it is a glass, okay. And there is a binary. I think the driver is not getting installed here. Yeah, thank you. Chalo, we are done. Now tell me the where will be the trust boundaries. Just perfect. Trust line boundary. This is one trust boundary. Anywhere else?
Then, and the other one
Even
would
that
be
service is an SQL database.
Yes, maybe or may not be. That we don't know. Depends. If the SQL database has the same access control with the web service, then it is not. If so, that depends. But let us assume yes. I am putting something called the coordinate trust boundary, where our OS, and this is kind of the demilitarized zone usually happens, right, inside the firewall and all. So another trust boundary I am putting here, as you said, secure for the SQL database. And also the employees would be a separate one, right? This browser is not required. I'm just putting okay. These are the things. So now does it resonate with you? This clumsy picture? Right? Now let's see what are the threads. Now this is the thing. We have found out the, here are the lot of things we have found, like what are the services are in SQL database is our asset. The assets are here, and also we know the attackers, but we are not separating them like this. But that is something we thought of. But when we draw this one is called data flow diagram. How the data is flowing from one trust boundary to another trust boundary. It's a data flow diagram. Now let us see what are the list of threads, right? Go to view, analysis view, bingo. These are the threads. See, first one, this is category spoofing. Under spoofing, this is the vector, like this is the class of threat, and the vector under that or the specific threat is spoofing the internet user's external entity. What is this? This is written as a description. Okay, I'm not going direct for everything. Like say the second one is cross-site scripting. This is a tampering. Okay, this falls under tampering, and it also in the picture it also shows that where. So for this particular connection, internet user to web application, there might be a threat of tampering using cross-site scripting. Nobody has written the web application. He doesn't know whether they have done it. They have introduced any cross-site scripting issues or not. But before that, they know that yes, this particular connection, whenever I am writing this web application, this particular connection might have a cross-site scripting issue. And that is falling under categories under tampering. So tampering has a vector cross-site scripting.
So this tool, what it does is once you create the flow diagram,
Yes.
based on the boxes you selected, it maps those straight.
Yes, it has its own library.
And
Exactly the Excel file that you have talked, that is nothing but the thread library. We are calling that a thread library. Microsoft has their own thread library, and those thread libraries together, they are calling it a template, thread template. Okay, so this is a template that I have used the default one. Now Microsoft has some other threads, or if you search in GitHub, people has come up with new thread templates, new thread libraries, and they can incorporate that into this picture. So this is easier to understand. Why this is required? Most of the cases in companies, there are shortage of SMEs who can do the thread modeling, right? So that's why at least this will give you some understanding, especially for the developers. Before they write the code, they know, okay, this is the issue that I might have. So I will not introduce this one. Okay, make sense? So there are, in fact, I think 62 total threads it has created. So it says that these are the if you create this particular application, there are 62 threads that might have come. Better address them. Got it?
We have to mitigate incident with it.
not really. Maybe we have to use a prioritization.
You have to do prioritization. In fact, what it lacks is it
Because
doesn't.
we see everything is high, so
Sorry, everything is.
but the
priority
priority
is all.
Yeah, priority is here. You can actually set the priority from here. If you see this is not like if it is a low priority, you can just set it from here. It will.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if there are any, the mostly for high priorities, we have to mitigate them, right? So before we go into the production stage.
Now the code is not ready. What you are going to mitigate? Where you are going to mitigate?
Not now, sir.
Yes. So it's not mitigating. It is preventing.
Yeah, it's giving
We
you
are
a
going-
heads up. Like these are the
Developers
checklists
have
we
every
have
code लिखा ही नहीं है. They are yet to write the code. But
Yeah.
before that, I am telling them, hey guys, these are the security problems that might have come. So better you do not make this mistake.
So as per my understanding, what I'm thinking is, so they have made the diagram. Now once it is configured or created this kind of network, then before it goes to production, there will be testing, right? So in testing, most of this will be clear, right?
Yes, yes. In fact, the tester also will get the similar threat report, and they will when they are writing the test cases, they will see, okay, this cross-site scripting is really mitigated, but there is a catch. Threat is always kind of finding a flaws, and threat model is not letting you find the flaws; it is avoiding the flaws.
It shows the potential.
Testing does not find a flaw. That doesn't mean that the flaw is not there. The flaw is still there.
It's just not finding.
Exactly. Now, how we can actually remove the flaw overall? If the developer who is writing the code, he knows I have to reuse a good sanitizer. That is how why cross-site scripting will happen. Because the input is not sanitized. That's the reason the cross-site scripting will happen.
Using open source code or something like that.
Yes, but you have to use a sanitizer. The whatever input is coming or whatever my website is showing, that has to be sanitized. What is sanitized? You heard this term, sanitized, right?
Yeah. From the past years.
A lot after COVID.
Yeah, after COVID.
So,
Yeah.
so sanitize probably like.
It's not probably, it has a very specific definition. Sanitization means any text that I am showing in my browser that has to be encoded properly.
No plain text.
I cannot show some random, like it is a HTML file. Now what if I have somebody the code is in such a way, it's a cross-site scripting, you know, right? Simple. Say there is a textbook and I am writing my name. And the moment I make the submit button, it throws me a new page and says hello. a simple HTML page you can create. Very simple, just a text in the first browser page. It will be a text box. I put my name and it says hello Soumya. Fine, simple. Now what happens if I just write table and then create something, lot of HTTP codes I did, then what will happen? Here actually it will show a table for me. Right? This is cross-site scripting. Now this is for just simple HTML, nothing will happen. What happens actually, I can put something which will change my SQL database. SQL database entry might get changed, because if what happens, this is actually a username or a text box which is interacting with a SQL database or no SQL database, whatever, some database it is interacting. What will happen actually, I send some SQL command in that. So what I have to do, whenever there is this angular bracket, I have to mark it like LT and GT. What will happen if you want to print this one into a HTML page? Usually, whenever we write HTML, the browser knows how to read it. It has a different meaning for that. Now I want to write HTML in that HTML page. Then my code will look like this: LT HTML GT. If I write this one in my HTML code, then the browser will show that angular bracket within HTML. Make sense? Or you want a little more clarification?
No,
Your face doesn't.
No, we don't want to go into that.
Okay.
Then it will take so much time.
But if you don't know this one, that is a little bit surprising for me.
No, it was covered in WhatsApp.
Huh?
OWASP.
Yeah, WASP top 10 is fine, like that is okay, but do you understand that what is happening here? What is the cross-site
So this is
scripting here?
used for elevating the privileges and dropping the table and
All these things.
In the
Look,
text box.
theoretically you can understand, but at least some small example you can try out.
Yes, yes.
This is just a small example. My concern is if I want to print this one in a HTML browser, how would I write? I will write it as a GT or LT. I think LT. I will write LT. So the code must replace this string, this character to LT somewhere. That is called sanitizer. Sanitizer means I am putting lot of things. Whenever there is a special character or some character that has a special meaning to the browser or to the SQL database or to anything, that will be replaced with something that everybody will understand. Okay, this is a string, nothing else. That is called sanitizer. So, where I was, Kiran? Sorry.
So we were discussing like at what point of time all these things will be removed or
Yes.
mitigated in the process.
Yes. Now, whether somebody is using a sanitizer, whether they are really replacing the special character with the string character, the escape characters, we are calling them escape characters. So we are really replacing everything with the escape character that the developer would know. Now, it might happen the developer has treated a set of that, some 100 characters they have they have replaced with the escape character. There might be 101th character which is not there, but which can create the problem, right? So that's why the developer should know. I have to do with all
These are
of
the
them.
basics.
Yes. Understood? So that's why, yes, tester may also use it, but it is mainly for the developer who would know, okay, this is the situation. This is something I have to take care of. Okay?
Basics are very important. So I had this day before yesterday, I had a call with that client. So what happened was we are generating new network and I have configured the routers and switch, Cisco router and Sienna switch. We have to connect both of them, and how many times we did, it is not coming online. So we did everything. We have to reboot everything. We have to recode and provision the PDCs. Everything we did. After 1.5 to 2 hours, we just got to know that customer had plugged into the wrong port of connecting the two devices. in which he connected to the wrong. After 2 hours of that, we got to know that. So sometimes
Happens.
it doesn't matter what we are doing. It depends on others also to check what is happening with them. I switched on at least.
Or you can go to the IT support guide. They would know what are the mistakes.
No, sir.
people do.
I asked the customer what flag you have. So they will report.
Oh.
He is a techie. I'm a techie, okay? So
Now-
there will be 3 ports. The first port.
Now I feel sympathy for you.
So there will be 3 ports, sir. On Sienna, there will be 3 ports. First port he has to connect. He had to connect. He connected in third port. In every time he says connect.
It's a bad thing. You should start with a prototype saying that which port can be.
Now what you can do actually a good threat modeling and what can go wrong, and you just start with that checklist.
He is not as a first checklist. Saying that which port have you plugged in before even answering his other question.
Is it port number 1? I cannot see that.
Identification problem.
Because when it was installed like this, vertically.
Okay, let's get here. Now we know what is stride. Similar to stride, there are few other models. Stride has a lot of limitations. It is good. It is good to start, but it has a lot of limitations. First of all, we really cannot prioritize the asset. Which asset I want to protect more, which asset I don't want to protect more, we cannot prioritize. That is the manual one. Once I see the report, I can actually prioritize manually and discretionally that this is high priority, this is low. But that is not automated. That is I cannot make it build with my model. That doesn't happen. That is a problem. To solve that problem, the DREAD comes in. DREAD is most of a risk modeling. Okay. For everything, we are actually putting the asset value. We are find out what is the probability of this asset happens, and all these things we are calculating, and we find a separator. It's similar to DREAD, but the different library, different tests, and it calculates the risk also inside the risk. Similarly, there is something called pass. Sorry.
When you say value, is it just a number or the actual mental?
Usually financial value is a number. Yes, it's the dollar value. Usually people understand that only. Everybody is there.
But how would they quantify it? I mean, like example. In this
There
case,
are ways how to quantify that. Usually say the database that contains all the customer data. The value of this is all the PII data value, the privacy value, the GDPR. What is the fine they will have to give for GDPR this thing, GDPR breach, and then they have to find what is the probability this will happen, and then they multiply the probability with the value and just come out. If this is the transactions, then it is a very higher value. If a transaction goes wrong, then there will be the integrity will be lost. In fact, whatever we call our money, that is nothing but an integer saved in one of the database of the banks, nothing else. And now if you can change data, manipulate data, you can change that, you can manipulate that integer as well. So all our money that we think this is my money, this is nothing but an integer, and which can be tampered. And how we can tamper, I have showed you the proper work for expert.
because that was the question I asked. The reason is like, so example, transaction, yes, it does hold some value, especially the log and the web application and those things. So physically they don't have a value for it unless they have.
Physically they don't have, but there are ways, but that is not the actual value, but that is a projected value. And many times it requires, it is discretionary. That means when I do the threat model, I probably put a different value. When you do, you will put a different value. It is not a hard and fast rule, but again, it is kind of when you are dealing with lot of financial products, you would know that how, especially when you are auditor, you would know that how much damage it might cost this particular asset. Breach of this asset, how much cost it might.
Okay.
Yeah, that is, there is no hard and fast rule, but you can integrate that into your model. Okay. So there are, Linden is actually kind of the privacy related threat model. Mostly the privacy related stuffs are there. So there are different. I'm not going each and every details for that. Just try to understand there are, style is one of them. might be a lot of others. Few of them are considering the risk, few of them are considering the privacy factor, few of them considering something else. Okay. But there are a lot of different threat models, and everything, the basic is all the same, what I told, or what you have done in your Excel sheet. The same thing is the threat library, the basics of the threat library. We think in this way and we create the threat model. Fine. Now you are confident that the products will be secured someday. It can be, right? Is the first step to do that. Okay, these are the threat models, and this is kind of the threat intelligence. Like this word also you have heard of. Threat intelligence. What's the difference between the threat model and threat intelligence? Both the things you have learned in some of the classes.
Yeah. So we learned attack versus and diamond model, not the CKC and.
Yeah, no, my question is more basic. Threat model and threat
Yeah.
intelligence. What is the difference?
Actually, it is already mentioned over there.
Proactive and reactive.
Yeah.
Response to.
It is after the
Yeah, it's already mentioned as in say. So this is the like one is the proactive approach and one is the reactive approach. So yes, what are the things you have already done? Cyber kill chain, yes, you done.
Okay, CK
CKA is also done.
Attack you have
Yeah,
done.
we did.
Where is database?
Diamond
Kepec. Okay, I will show you Kepec, MITRE Kepec. And diamond model is nothing but another model. It actually takes, if I'm not wrong, Kepec, attack.
It takes
and
from cyber kill chain, I believe, the
Yeah.
diamond model. Similar to that.
Similar, yes, diamond model.
Four vectors, no? Diamond model.
Yes, that's right. Diamond has 4 vertex. So you know a lot of things. Then I'm good. Can I have a coffee?
Because we had opted to.
No, name you know, but you know you can you connect with the name. That's my concern, because name you can know, you can Google it, but where exactly it fits, that basic I really want to.
Mitra we had done
Very much familiar.
Okay.
Cyber culture also.
Minor attack and
Cyber culture.
cyber kill chain.
Great. So DRAID, as I said, it is kind of damage, reproducibility, exploitability, affected user, and discoverability. So these are the things we are modeling here. So we are modeling different things here.
What then follows?
We have our separate threat library, just similar to your Excel sheet that you have worked with, the spreadsheet, right? So similar to that, we have a big threat library. We usually do not follow stride, but what happens when Microsoft come up with this stride model, that time EMC and Microsoft work together, and that's why we had some contribution on stride side as well, and we take part of that but not fully. We have our own threat library, and mostly we use that threat. We start with the same data flow diagram that we draw in the Microsoft threat modeling tool. But after that, we don't use the Microsoft threat modeling, that analysis we don't use. We do the analysis using a different threat library.
Like a hybrid model.
It's a hybrid model you can, yeah. And okay, attack tree is like how attacker can reach to a particular asset. So maybe it's, sorry.
Yeah, we had this setup.
Okay, so I'm not going much deep into that. So this is just to sum up, we all know this thing. Okay, so it's a threat library report to be used by the developers. It should not be too cryptic. Most of the cases, what happens? Yes, we are doing threat library, threat modeling, and it's a very big thing, and then come up with lot of jargons, lot of big reports and everything, but it is of no use if the developers cannot connect with that. At least at the end of the day, the best threat modeling is probably this one. Not best, but one of the aspect of the threat modeling is that as the new developer who has joined yesterday in my company, he would understand this thing and he can create this thing in his code. He can incorporate this thing in his code. That is one of the biggest aspect of the threat modeling, which we expect, but it hardly happens.
So even if we prepare the threat modeling in Dell, the developers will not follow.
Because we usually do the threat modeling with the architects. Mostly with the architects we see, we do that. Then architects agree, disagree, a lot of things happen, then we come up with that report. That report, usually most of the cases, it goes to architects and the implementing manager, and then it
It gets
somewhere
diluted.
gets lost. It gets diluted because the developer who is working, his main objective is by tomorrow I have to like before the weekend I have to close this ticket,
Sprint.
this sprint. So now this bigger picture, these things I have to incorporate. Or first of all, the report is not prepared in that way because these reports are prepared for the engineering managers level, which I totally disagree. Engineering managers or the business owner directors, they have nothing to do with the technology. But anyway, they always want to get involved with the entity, so they want this report, and they ask that why this is like this, why this is. Then if we end up doing a risk report rather than a threat report, and the main intention sometimes, not always, mostly in Dell, I have experience with two type of things. One were productive, were creating products, delivering software to the customer premises, or they are like mostly we have the servers and the data centers, all these things. Like lot of this network storage devices we say, right? So the product teams, they're good. They know they probably had a very good developers. The developers knows the threat modeling. In fact, sometimes they proactively ask for the threat modeling report to us. They give us the threat modeling report. I was studying modeling report. And there is the application side, like the Dell Digital and all. So the application is those like the Dell website where you purchase something from Dell, all these things, even all these your Dell service. Like if you have your Dell's this one service tag number, that's all you need to know. You just call anybody, you can just put the service tag number. They will find out all the details of your system. Now how everything is mapped, the entire support team is using a lot of different applications. They debug your computer, they install a lot of different tools, and then they do a lot of diagnosis, all these things. So these are part of your application set. Mostly whenever we have the application sets, they are always in a very stringent deadline. The sprints and everything comes from them. But the product development is slightly slow process, and people know, okay, if we make one mistake, that will cost a lot. We can miss deadline, that's fine, but we cannot come up. We can send a error in the code. Okay, so there is a two different. The business requirement is different, but in application, I cannot miss the deadline. Even I'm fine to push some bugs, that's fine, but I don't need. I can't put. I can't miss the deadline. So
Send it with a bug and call it as beta version.
yes, next week we'll fix the bug. Let us go. That's how it happens.
So
So
it is an ongoing process for threat modeling team. So when they do a real
usually,
threat
yes,
modeling,
that's a very good question. When do we do the threat modeling? So expectation is threat modeling should be done before we start writing the code, but it usually does not happen. So we usually suggest we should do it once in a year for every applications and every products, because beyond that it is not scalable. Okay, because 10,000 different applications are there. How many SMEs you would need to
so
do
for every application, threat modeling will be done
for once a year?
once a year, but it is getting diluted. Then also companies are doing.
Then also companies are doing for two things. One, the compliance issue. They have to show that yes, we are doing through threat modeling. The
So
compliance
this is
issue.
compliance required.
This is the compliance.
I think it is one of the requirements for charter, right?
What?
For charter. So when they propose a project, so they need to have this in the charter. You have to give your strength and weakness and opportunity to all those things. And along with
And
that,
this
you have
is
to
also
give,
the FIPS requirement. That means the federal government. This is Dell is also a supplier to the federal government US.
especially financial institution.
Financial, and also Dell is a supplier, right? All the servers and laptop endpoints Dell is supplied. So Dell will have to adhere some of the compliances, and this is one of the
So your
compliances.
team mainly prepares the threat modeling.
Usually no, the engineering team has their own security team. We usually interact with them.
Okay.
Nowadays, this has been made as one of the mandatory in the program for enterprise applications.
Topography, yes, topography, it is mandatory. Like that.
Although we have made it mandatory for any application to pass.
Yes. Yes, it is becoming mandatory, but my concern is still the same. Like usually the target audience are not addressed. Like what is the why we are doing that? That reason itself get dissolved, diluted. Why we are doing that? So like there is no point of doing so much circus, right? Fast
If you
paced.
research the lot, you need fantastic libraries, controls, everything, but nobody is.
Nobody, yes, that's a like if I cannot at the end of the day, if I cannot make my system secure, what's the point of doing trade
Actually,
modeling?
Agile made it more difficult because when we
Yes,
were
actually,
using
that's why
waterfall,
I said for the application it is more difficult because the timeline and everything.
because in
Because
user
sprint-
case stories, they don't
sprint
put all
to
those
finish it
No,
requirements.
no, no. It doesn't come in the user stories. It goes in the feature.
Yes, it is a feature. Whenever feature changes, we do the threat modeling.
But don't you map it with the user case?
So somebody is preparing in various teams and you will
Then
guide them.
Yes, I guide them sometimes. Few for like we call some of the products as the high value products. High value assets we call. For the high value assets, we usually for every threat model report we read. Threat model report, we read all the codes, we manually review the codes.
It doesn't
It's
come
not
back.
writing is required.
Then it makes
Not writing, but yes, click is it. But yes,
Okay, it's required.
but yes, that like sign up. Yes, sign up is required for like, in fact, technically, no Dell product should go in the market without our PAST signs up. It is a SRO or PAST, product and application security. So it is kind of a gatekeeper. Without our sign up, no Dell product.
You sign up, you
Yes,
develop
now,
like this.
yeah, now if there is a flaw, there is a vulnerability. I will. Okay. And the last one is yes, there are a lot of limitations, and secondly, it is costly. Costly means it requires a lot of time, right? A lot of man-hour it is required. Mostly the architects and engineering managers and all these people are required. So if you calculate the man-hour in terms of their salary, what is their hourly salary into this much of hour, then it is a very big figure. Okay.
And also they do the cost analysis, saying that is it costly to pay or costly to pay as a fine?
Yes. So that's like, and also there are some tools which are very costly. Threat modeler is a tool that Dell uses. Like for the applications we are using, few of the applications we are using, threat modeler is another tool which is very costly one. I think $30,000 a year. That's and that is also for like one single application.
You input everything and.
Yeah, it even doesn't require you to draw everything. It is just asks few questions, some set of questionnaire on the basis of that it creates your.
Then why expertise people required to operate that?
Someone needs to validate it.
That's why they are costly. They cost so much. And secondly, that threat model is really not. It's good for applications again, but for product where everything is new. For application, we know what is happening. It's very straightforward thing. But for a product, like when I am threat modeling a firmware, it is totally different than threat modeling of a data storage device. Right? Or if you have a Dell laptop, there is something called support assist. I actually did the threat modeling and found a lot of errors on that. So support assist is a bloatware where you can say, so it comes with your like it is pre-installed in your laptop and it actually keeps on diagnosis what happens if your laptop is in this premium support or something. They have, if you have used Dell laptop, you might
Dell
know.
assist. Dell assist.
Dell assist, support assist, actually it is a support
So
assist.
it will pop up, you just need to click it.
So even if anything goes wrong, any hardware goes wrong, it directly, without notifying you, it actually sends the thing in the back end, and the support team will know. They will send the hardware to you. Like your RAM is not working perfectly. Next day morning, even if you realize your RAM is not working, your RAM will be there on your desk.
But then who will replace it?
If it's within warranty, they're free of cost.
The replace you can replace. It's just a screwdriver that's you need, right?
Anyway, we will.
On-site warranty.
No, Dell, even Apple, they actually encourage you to do these things yourself. They encourage it.
But
Even
warranty
Apple MacBook, you can, even if you order for a RAM or things, They will give you the online support. Online, they will go make a video call and you can do that.
But warranty will go away.
No, it is a myth. What is I did lot of things with my MacBook and still it is in warranty. And Dell anyway, it is I know people who to go to. Sorry. Okay, we already did this exercise. Now let us go to the next part. Should we have a 10 minutes break for coffee? I think many of us are a little bit, yeah. So let's have our coffee. I think coffee would be there, right? Okay, then just check, and by the time I will I'm just checking what else. Okay, how many of you know Snike? Have you used Snike? This tool?
Night.
This tool, have you ever used? Have you heard of this tool? Have you seen this logo anywhere?
No. It's dog.
Okay. Okay, that's. Have you heard about SAST tool, static code analyzer? What do you use? 45 M. So have you is there any other module that are covered 45 coverability anything?
Not here.
Not here, but you know 45, and you said you use Sonar Cube, right?
Yeah.
Sonar Cube and also Qualys.
So that's you by now.
Okay. Okay. And BART, all of you have used BART, I guess. Cyber cleaning is done. And there is one more tool which is called Black Duck. Anybody have?
Black Duck.
What? Any free alternative of Black Duck you have heard of, or open source alternative of Black Duck? It's something called dependency checker from what? Sorry? It's Black Duck. Okay.
There is no alternative for black dog.
I did not mention that. Okay. So there will be a assignment. I'm just writing that one, and after that we'll go to.
So, we will be ready at 3:30.
3:30.
Yeah.
Wow.
What we heard from the developer, whatever Black Duck can provide as
Okay. Now I'm giving you an assignment. I will cover a little bit of theory, but practical, just find out if you can do it by your own. If you can find out how to do that, then you will be super confident, believe me. Okay. I can show you the demo and everything, and you can just recreate the same thing, you can just reproduce the same thing. But it's better if you just do your own R&D for some time and you find out how it exactly happens. Okay.
So can you use this board for class?
Okay. Sorry.
And Raj will say.
And GitHub, who has used GitHub?
GitHub, I am daily using.
Daily using.
IBM cloud is on GitHub.
Anybody else who's quite confident to use or is comfortable to use GitHub?
Yeah, you can use.
You can use, right? Okay. Now assignments is like this. First, take any repository, public repository from GitHub. You can do that. Clone something on your local machine. You can do either in your local machine or cloud, whatever you are using. You can get a public repository, any public repository. Just use it. Second is, once you do that, run a SAST on that. Any SAST. Few of the example, one as I said, is 9. 45 requires license, I guess. SonarQube.
SonarQube is free, no?
SonarQube community edition is free. Okay. But this is not very easy. It's not just a tool and you have to run it. Okay, before that, I also wanted you to do one more thing. Do a quick threat model. Not you can use Microsoft threat modeling tool, but since you do not know what this thing is doing, it's very difficult for you because you do not know the architecture. Okay, but just try to do. Just try to play around with it if you can. Otherwise, fine. Even if we don't have we cannot do the threat modeling, it is fine. But I really want you to play with that, or you can just think about the hypothetical application and you can just try with that. Okay, but this is optional. 3 is run any SAST tool. Again, I am telling this is not a very straightforward one. It's not like just install a tool and run some codes. It will not be like that. There are some catches. Find out that. I'll just give you some. So there will be an agent that you have to install that will run on your local machine, and it will send some metadata to some of the server. And that server, when you are installing say SonarQube Community Edition or whatever, actually it is a web server, nothing else. And it also comes up with an agent. You will find in their documentation, you will find either from the CLI or there is some local agent like with GUI you will find. You just run that local agent, it scans your code and then sends the metadata back to the particular server. Okay. Why it is like that? Why it is so complex? Why we can't do it on my own system? Because
Library.
It's not only library. The biggest reason is there are many people collaboratively working on that. How many instances you will run? And secondly, even all these reports, I need one single dashboard for that. That's why usually happens. There is a single like one server and lot of local agents. So whoever are the developers, they can run these local agents. Everything will be pulled from their machine to here, just like GitLab. Or Snike or SonarQube also has some plugins which can actually directly you can link with the GitLab. GitLab or GitHub or Bitbucket if you are using them. Got it? So you can do that. Fourth one is run a DAST on that if you can compile it. Not all the repo you cannot compile, right? That's why just try to find out a good repo which you can compile, which is easy to compile, at least has some Docker or something. Then it is very easy for you to compile, right? And then after you compile, you have to run a DAST scanner. DAST scanner. Barb scan. You have already done some barb scan. Barb script. There is a scanner. There is an automated scanner. You have to run that automated scanner. It is very straightforward. Just install barb. You know where the application is running. In that case, you have to compile the application. You have to run the application because this is DAST. What is the difference between SAST and DAST?
Static and dynamic.
Yes. That means when this is in code, I am not running the code. Just in code, it is sitting in my local machine or wherever. I am just scanning those codes. That is SAST. And dynamic means when it is actually running. So in other words, we can call SAST is actually the program. It is scanning the program, and DAST is scanning the process. Process program in execution equals to process. Remember in operating system. So this is actually the compiled program which is running. Okay. So BART is there, ZAP is there. Even Snike also has one. You can see there are a lot. Any tool you can use, whatever you are comfortable at. I'm not mentioning the exact name so that you can actually search in Google. You can find new tools. You can know that what are the tools available. If you search, you will get a lot of lists. But which one is best or which one is easy to use for you, you can find it. And 5, you have to run a third party inventory scanner, or it has another name called software composition analyst. This is also called SCA. SCA means source code analysis is also there. Like some of the SSTs are called SCA because they are source code analyst. Also, software composition analyst. That means, here comes another beautiful thing. Not all the codes I am writing by my own. I am using a lot of libraries. I am using a lot of third-party libraries. Now, those third-party libraries will also have some issues, some vulnerabilities. Like Apache, Log4j. I am using Apache. Log4j, I did not write Log4j. That's not my problem. That's not my fault. Yes, it is not your fault, but it is your problem. Because your product, your application at the end of the day is going to be vulnerable. So I need to know whatever is the supply, whatever is there in the supply chain, whatever are there in this software, the third-party library I am using, they are not vulnerable. I have to ensure that. So since I do not have the code for them, I do not know the code, right? I do not own the code. So what will I do? For that, there are some tools. Those tools are called SC. So example is Black Duck. There is something called Secunia, or a good free one is Dependency Analyze. This is from WASP. Fine. Done. So you will get 3 reports: SAST, DST, third party.
This is the usual process for websites.
Exactly, that's what happens when we do the when we do the security development life cycle. Exactly, this is what we do. We run one after one. Got it? Okay.
The reports are technical, or
You will find it. Find it. Whether you can understand the report, whether you can relate with the report. In fact, this one, if you get a good repo, actually it is better to find out those repos which has some vulnerability already. If you like the repos which are downloaded or cloned so many times or forked so many times, that means those are very secure repos. You might not find anything. So for your reference, you can use one. I have created one. I'm just giving you the.
so this tool can scan the application installed on cloud, infra, with containers, etc.
Sorry, come again.
This tool,
Hmm.
they can scan and give the report of cloud infra as well.
Yes, some of them. That depends which tool you are taking. Snipe, yes, it can. Fortify Cloud, yes, it can. SonarCube Community Edition cannot, but it has a separate edition. Okay. DST, Bart, Zap, no, they cannot do, but you can use always. You can always use Tenable. Here you can always use
Tenable, I know. For
Tenable you can use, but Tenable is not really a DST. It is mostly the vulnerability analysis. It is not the DST, but there are other like Twistlock is a good one. Twistlock is used to find out the security of the Kubernetes, like all the Dockers, Kubernetes, cloud platform. Twistlock is good. And most of the cases, the cloud provider, they have some tools. Like if you are using AWS, AWS has a lot of tools. You can find out. Yeah, I have shared a link here. So this will have pretty much like lot of vulnerabilities you will find here. And this is a Python script. And Python, I like Python because Python has something called Flex. Flex library is very good because it is it's a very lightweight and inbuilt web server. Because otherwise you have to install Apache or something, Apache IIS. But for Python, you don't need to use that. There is a library called Flex, which is the inbuilt web server it runs. Whenever the program runs, the web server also runs in the background. So that's why I wrote it in the Python so that it's very easy for you to compile. You can use this one or anything else. In fact, you can use, yes, you can use, but yeah, you can try with some others. You can use these ones. If you can do it, one you can actually replicate it for many. So here you can find lot of errors and everything. So lot of vulnerable already there are. In fact, the list of vulnerabilities are here. I think these vulnerabilities I have already written. Not everything. I have not written everything. Don't worry. I forked it some from some other project and just made some changes here. But yeah, it's. I think I forked it. Wavegoat or something like that. There are a lot of such things. Wavegoat is from Wasp. Probably I just took it down and I just like made it much more simpler. That's all. Because it's a very Wavegoat is a very big application. Okay. So this is just a statistics I got. It's just some random statistics I got, and I thought that is it would be very interesting. I put it here that 83% of the companies releases code without testing for security. I obviously this is a very controversial claim, so I have put the cards here. And but yes, since they have published it, at least some data point they have. Whether they are reliable or not reliable, I don't know, but some data point they must have. But being in industry for last 8-9 years, I don't think that is a very wrong theory. In fact, I have worked with a lot of big companies. Like I work with Dell, but yes, I have also did a lot of freelancing with a lot of different companies as well. And many of them are really very big companies. But what I have seen, it's not a very unproportional claim. I don't know whether 83 might be 80 or 75, but yes,
They would have
most.
big process, but they are not following.
Yes, that's correct. They have their process, but the problem here is most of that will come. That why this process is very difficult to implement, because the process. In fact, you create your own process. Like they said, do threat modeling. It's a very simple thing. Do threat modeling. Yes, I am doing threat modeling, but nobody is giving a shit to that. Okay, so that's the problem. We are the security team is working in silos. That's not the right. When there is a data breach, yes, we need security, all these things, but yes, of course, if people are concerned about security, but what they don't concern is that security is for everybody. Like the developer, they are equally responsible for the security. The tester, they are also equally responsible for the security. Not only few security engineers hired or security SMEs. So that probably mindset is slowly disappearing. Now everybody is understanding that everybody has an equal stake on security. That's happening. Okay. Secure develop. When we say something, we are creating a secure serve. Now we know that how to create the threat, how what are the threats might be there. Now the second question is, even though if I know the threads, how we can create the software? Now the next part. Now design is done. Now I have designed a very good thing. I know these are the threads. The threads are passed to the developers. Now what? How they can implement those like mitigate those threads? How they can implement that? So there are different ways of doing that. Different, I think I would say philosophy. One is secure by design. I will design my system in such a way that it will be secure. Just an example, maybe how would I say, uh, the design like okay, just a database. Okay. I have created a database in such a way that you cannot do the SQL injection. Somewhere it will block the SQL injection parameters. It happens. There are databases that actually you can create a wrapper around the database, but it is not part of the database. We can create. This is the security by design. By the design, I am doing such a thing that it will not uh, let people to do something wrong with it. And threat modeling is the key for that. Once we do the threat modeling, we know that what can go wrong, and I will design it. Even though the everything goes wrong, but my design will make a defense against it, right? Right? And also like the way I create the building is I have built in such a way that nobody can actually enter without having a key. Like I can create a fortress. Secure development, but secure by design is a very costly to achieve. Of course, creating a fortress and creating a building, there is difference. Right? Is secure by design is kind of it's a fortress. And one of the key elements that we use for secure by design is cryptography. As long as we are just using the cryptographic library, it's fine. But if somebody asks to create a cryptographic thing, it's difficult. Secure development. The develop, yes.
Can you please explain how cryptography is used in secure by design?
Okay.
I just can't able to imagine that.
Okay. Sure. Say HTTPS. Now, if people can do man in the middle attack, they cannot do. But now, if I simply make my web server work on HTTPS, this is the HTTPS. It is a design. I have designed my web server. It will work only HTTPS. I have blocked HTTP. This is a security by design. HTTPS means it will send everything encrypted within the channel, so that nobody can do any man in the middle attack. It's a simple example of secure by design. Now I can take other routes also. No, I don't want to be the HTTPS. I can whatever you are sending, I will just do some. I will add my own cryptographic things. I will encrypt by my own, or I can do a lot of other things. I can create a secure channel in a different way without using HTTP. Yes, we can do. Okay, but that is a design. By design, I have to create. I am blocking them in management. Okay. Secure development. Secure development says when you are developing it, you have to make it secure. All these things, testing. And when you are creating it, you should know that what are the cryptographic ciphers I would use. You would like in Dell we have lot of development or coding standards. We have a list of cryptographic ciphers or cryptographic protocols. You have to use only these things. You cannot use anything else. Or there is a sanitizers, the list of sanitizers. These are the things you have to drop. Like, these are the escape for these particular characters. You have to put the escape characters, and you have to use whitelisting only, no blacklisting. Okay, so all these things that is already there. This is secure development. The developers are going to use all these things. Secure by default. By default it will be secure. Like many times there is a business need. No, I don't want HTTPS. Send me. I want to use HTTP. I don't want to use HTTPS because I have a self-site certificate, or I don't want to go to the certifying authority. Right? It happens. But the default one, by default, it should be secured. If somebody wants, we change it. Okay, I have a provision to make it HTTP, but for that you have to do some extra work. You do it by your own risk. Got it? secure by communication, every communication, in process to process communication, machine to machine communication, or human to machine communication would be secure. And the last one is privacy by design. If like privacy is also another factor. Nobody, whoever is using the PII data should not be out. Even the definition of PII data is not like that only the information that can identify you, that might identify you is also PII. Like my name is Maity, this is a PII data. But a person living in Bangalore is not a PII data. Okay, so by location I can send some information. Now if I say this guy who is right now standing inside Deva University inside this particular room, now that search space is limited. Now the person who is only standing in the room, that is me. Even though it is not considered like really a PII data, but somebody can find out my unique identity. So which might be identifiable for you, that is also considered as PII data. So privacy, like I have to design the system in such a way that privacy should be preserved. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't work. Now, what is the problem? So far, it looks very nice. It's like a fairy tale. Everything is good. But what is the problem? There are three problems: connectivity, extensibility, and complexity. Connectivity, now everything is connected. We are calling now, we are living in an age of IoT, whatever we call it. IoT, smart world, smart things, everything. So now everything is connected. That means every piece of code is connected. What we call IoT, a device, a software, a web server, everything is nothing but a piece of code. So every piece of code we are writing are connected in internet, and every piece of code can communicate with another piece of code. That is a very big problem. Now, one vulnerability in one code might be propagated or might affect 1,000 other codes. That is the problem. And the extensibility is like we are not writing everything from the scratch. We are using something like for the mobile codes. It's incrementally we are like we have a base version of Android, and we can add features, keep on adding features on that. Now what happens when when we are extending some code to another, like who take care of the legacy codes? The example I have given that in Samsung we used to work with a very like 14 GB data, 14 GB stack. Now, who is going to take care of the vulnerability coming from that old stack, which is written 20 years back? That's the problem. Right? And the third one is the complexity. Windows 10 is at least 10 million lines of code. 10 millions. Google offers 2 billion lines of code. And DOS probably had, if I'm not wrong, few in like I think few thousand. It is less than 2,000 in fact. The entire DOS operating system which Bill Gates purchased from somebody. Okay, so that is the problem, the complexity. The like I think I don't have that slide here. So the Apollo mission, when NASA sent people in moon, the entire thing worked with a code which is 500 lines. Okay? That is 500 lines of code.
Did they have any computer?
Yes, that time it was computer. NASA had computer.
In 500 lines, what can they operate it? With 500 lines.
The computer was different. The code was there. People knew how to code, but computer use doesn't look like this. Computer is a very big thing, but entire thing was. Otherwise, just imagine who is going to calculate. Do you really think Neil Armstrong, when he was landing on the moon, he's going to calculate how exactly that location on the moon this pathfinder will touch? Of course not. That is a very huge calculation, right? The moment from that, I think from that rocket there is a shuttle that will land on the moon. That time they will have to calculate a lot of things. What is if there is no wind, that is good thing, but exactly which location they are, what is the rotational speed of moon, what is the rotational speed of Earth when the rocket was sent. All these things were there, right? What is the distance of, do you think Neil Armstrong was calculating on paper?
But 500 lines, that is the surprising part.
Sorry?
But 500 lines is a kind of a surprising part.
Which was fine?
500 lines.
Yes, 500 lines. That because beyond that people could not scale up. Now we have so small computers you can write.
I think the system that was running on that particular machine is running 4 MB of RAM.
Yes. For in fact that time 10 MB RAM, like 10 MB hard disk. I can show you. There is a 10 MB. I am showing you a 10 MB hard disk size. That time they are actually literally putting it in a shifting it in an aeroplane, big like not a big aeroplane, but yeah, it's. Coffee break, yeah, coffee break. Yes, we should take. See this picture? This is a 10 MB hard disk. So 500 lines code is not a surprising fact that time. 756 MB. Okay, my first hard disk was 20 GB. I guess that time GB was no. There is something called Moore's law, you know. Every computer speed doubles in every 10 years. Yeah, I will use floppy. And floppy also had previously it has a big floppy and a small one.
5 and 4 and 5.
के बात कर रहे हैं.
3.5.
कितने पुराने.
Look at it now.
So we are good till here. But why? What is the difference between a calculator and a command?
How do you define it?
It is all the way you append subset of computer. Nowadays we see computer as a IT god application. So
Calculator,
yes, it is a computer.
okay, it's like I would not know.
Is it technically the calculator?
Yeah.
We have
The only main difference is that computer is programmable. Calculator is already programmable. It's already programmable. And actually the entire code for a calculator is
Smart or water?
even for a scientific calculator also it is very easy. It's only just computer is a programmable
Would have
device. So let's go for the coffee break. Electric cooker and doorbell. Electric doorbell.
No.
Electric doorbell. It's not electronic doorbell.
Electric cooker is a computer,
Yeah.
but doorbell is not.
Yeah. Technically, it should be vice versa.
Yeah.
Because Alexa is
Yeah,
doorbell.
what is
But that was very informative.
See,
When
everything
I
is
learned
getting
so
there.
many things like that.
So the in Indian law,
Use the doorbell.
and for the next question, so just we use Google. We don't so worried about our exam. First of all, I don't worry.
The standard of preference.
Srini, we are taking a coffee break for 15 minutes.
Sure.
months and I was writing book. Concept is good, but still I like it.
So you have prepared for CSP.
वो बोलो तुम्हारे लिए उन्होंने डाला गया है.
नहीं आपने बोल रहा था ना पहले कि दे दूंगा शायद जल्दी जिसके लिए
अभी ओके अभी कम से कम 5 साल का एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए उसके.
So you're in final semester.
Yeah.
Yesterday she completed her 4th year. Wow,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
तो किसी को कैंपस प्लेसमेंट इनिशियल वन हो गया.
Campus, yeah, I'll be leaving here in a few weeks. I'll be leaving.
Oh, then we will miss you. You had campus placement?
Yeah, I did.
Which one?
I got in government and then I got PhD. I'm going for an off-campus placement. Thank you.
Awesome first is always best because
Off-campus.
And off time नहीं, sorry, you said कौन सी है?
Legato,
Legato?
BX.
Yes, I just know.
What job you got, Diksha?
Yeah.
You got job offer from this?
Yes, I've got a job.
This college is good. Students are also good for sure. You know the basics of you are here as considered mentor, right?
Yeah.
You know the basics. You
Of
need to understand
cybersecurity.
everything what is teaching first of all. Okay, and after exam you should know all the answers also. And then you will connect with you.
But now it is not required. Placement is already done.
वो तो ठीक है. Still, it's a duty, a moral duty. To
Moral
understand,
duty, okay.
to understand what he is teaching and to also provide answers later on.
Yeah, that was during exam.
That is what I am telling, man.
You missed that last word exam. You said everything, but you didn't find the key word.
That was it.
Where is Sita today?
People silent.
She is not even there.
उसका send हो. Krita is absent today. Krita is not back. Absent. ये कैसे possible है? Absent. She made me absent in the exam. This war of titles was thinking the exam. Who is Deepa?
It's a race.
तो अगले क्लास में और अटेंडेंस होगी ना, मजा आएगा फिर तो बाकी सब
Where is Gata? Where is Gata? They again dropped off.
उसमें सारे
Like how it used to happen 50 years ago, 6,000 years back. What actually steganography?
Steganography, yes.
So that Egyptians used to do that, right?
First time what happens, like initial days, like during Julius Caesar, they used to ban the messengers. The first shave the head, put the tattoo, the message tattoo, and then
मुझे वो नेशनल ट्रेजर का जो पीरियड होता है
that's the first evidence of steganography.
वो मूवी नहीं है सर नेशनल ट्रेजर का काफी सीरीज है नेशनल ट्रेजर करके जो
Hey, no, girl in the dragon tattoo.
वो ट्रेजर सर्च करते रहते हैं
Mafia's list will be on the head.
God will get a God will get a dragon.
नेशनल ट्रेजर नहीं देखा होगा
किसने है? लिखा इसने?
नहीं बहुत पुराना मूवी है वो लोग खजाना ढूंढते रहते हैं
Hey, in that where?
उसमें सारे क्लूज मिलते रहते हैं
Oh, yeah. Indiana Jones. Not Indiana Jones.
National treasure.
National treasure. Nicholas Cage.
निकोलस केज
How could I miss that? I have missed that one. Okay.
हाँ वो
Next week we will be at car. Next week we will be at car.
आपको सिनेमेटोग्राफी और सब इंटरेस्ट है ना उसमें बहुत मजा आएगा क्लूज
Now, what you did is just one of my work day will be gone. Like if I start a series, I don't.
Then if
Movie है
that's
ना?
the case,
Oh, तब तो ठीक है चलो. एक दो मीटिंग
मैं सीरीज नहीं देखता
एक दो मीटिंग स्किप कर देंगे.
but if you like the national treasure, no, watch this Uncharted. Really.
Srini, we are back.
People joining and dropping. Second year. Second year. Out of 7, we have to select 4. Orange. No.
1 minute, sir.
Sure.
Yes.
अरे टीचर मेरा वोटर वहाँ पे रह गया वहीं जा रहे हो तो ले आना प्लीज स्पीड का ठीक है
Please ask me the water bottle.
Smart work.
लाउड
No.
लीडर फॉर है वी कवर ऑलरेडी
Maybe the advanced one of
I don't
कहाँ anywhere it is winter fourth model in our plan it is close to 3
normal game.
advance
advanced game.
because your 500 हुआ ना तो कुछ नहीं
ये कर रहा था वो ऊपर से कीजिए।
था
हाँ ये advanced.
about the assignment.
Actually policy
What is the timeline?
कितना टाइम लगना चाहिए इसमें?
नेक्स्ट सैटरडे लेके आएंगे सर थैंक यू ग्रेडेड नहीं है ना
It is only. Otherwise, why assignment?
10 नंबर वाला था वही
ठीक है, ऐसे भी 3 असाइनमेंट होगा तो 3, 3, 4. This is of 3.
3 मार्क्स
3 marks.
3 मार्क्स पे ही
अच्छा चलो
बोल हो गया
ठीक है 30 30 30 बेस्ट ऑफ 3. अच्छा चलो
मिस करेंगे सारे असाइनमेंट जो सबसे सही रहा
ठीक है, बेस्ट ऑफ 3 और 1 मार्क्स से 3 असाइनमेंट सबमिट होने के लिए, मतलब तीनों ही सबमिट होना चाहिए,
हाँ तीनों ही सबमिट
इसके लिए 1 मार्क्स. अच्छा we'll see, but this is the assignment next week. Actually I'm thinking next to next week actually. 2 weeks is, I think it is good enough.
We will go through the task and task once, then we will have.
Yeah, you just as per your convenience you start working on that.
Plan also, right?
Yeah.
Task and
But
task.
it is majority of the report will be online. How do
Yes,
you-
but as I said, I'm not going to show the demo. I thought there are 2 ways. I can show the entire demo with one SAS tool and all. But I thought like if you search it yourself, then it's better.
Just try it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this next week anyway, we are starting with the crypto. Okay. Usually, the plan is next week. Initially, we'll start with the SAST, DST, but we can do that next to next week, and the next entire day we can delegate for crypto. Right? So next week we are not discussing about it, so that you can have 14 days time on that. But next week there will be some assignments as well. Okay. And for every assignment, it is 2 weeks timeline. Because
4 weeks.
4 weeks module. The last module I will just check the assignments maybe after 1 week.
because it 2 assignments
No, there will be 3 assignments. The last assignment I will check. Even though I am not here, I can check your assignments, right?
3 assignments and 1 MCQ
Yes. Yes, all these 3 reports I get. Okay. Snapshot, PDF, whatever.
As long as we can download that.
Yeah, fine. We all are engineers. You can put snapshot, you can WhatsApp, you can make a text, you can create XML, and all of these tools are like state of the art tools, so you can actually do anything. You can actually export it into XML, JSON, or you can create PDF, whatever you want. Okay, so it's fine. Anything is fine. I just want to see that whether you have done and whether the report is fine. You have, like, I just want to know that you have done enough research on that, and you have like you could run these tools. That's what I wanted to know. Okay. Okay. So when we do the software security, there are 7 touch points. This is again the model that the great people who are working with the software development and all the initial phases, they said, okay, these are the 7 things if we do properly, our software will be secure. And pretty much even today, the industry is following these seven touch points, but with little bit of changes. I will tell you that how the changes, how people are doing some changes. Like we in Dell, we have done some modifications. Microsoft has done some modification. IBM has done some modifications. But that is for their own use, whatever they felt good. But this is the basic. For any kind of security development, this 7 touch point is the basic. And on the basis of that, people made a lot of modifications. But there are 3 pillars. One is threat modeling and risk management that we have already covered. The 7 touch point I'm going to cover, and few of the things I have already discussed here in the assignment. And the third is knowledge. That means everything, the threat scenario, threat landscape, everything is keep on changing. Is keeping on changing, right? So since everything is changed, we need to accumulate more and more knowledge, because today what we think secure might not be secure tomorrow. Few days back, nobody used to know about log4j. But now we know. Since we know now, we have to secure it, right? So this constant knowledge, constant monitoring is also required. Now, what are the 7 touch points? It's very simple, very nice thing. Like requirement as use cases which are used by the testing team. They have to find out the requirement. Security requirement is different than the software requirement, right? So whenever I am making the software, I have to know that what is the boundary case. As I like that famous picture, like that shark falling on your roof. Whether I'm going to consider that as my boundary or not, that is the question. So that is why the requirement is important. What is my security requirement? How much strength I need for my information system? That is required, and that requirement should be captured, and the use cases, as well as not only the use cases but also the abuse case is also important for this. What can go wrong? Usually testing team tests with the use cases, but here we have to do testing with the abuse cases. Second is architecture and design. You know about this Bell LaPadula model, you know about the Chinese world model, all these things, right? You know DAC, MAC, right? So these are different architectural design. Okay, there are a lot of standards on that. So what are the architecture and the design? How we can make this better? What is the standard I am going to follow? What is the security model I am going to follow? How we are going to do the threat model? How I am going to model the threat? Right? These things comes in the architecture and design phase. Of course, threat modeling that we discussed, that is part of this box. Now come to the third box, test plans. Risk-based security. So it is not only about the regression testing. The regression testing will also consider the security corner cases. Okay. How many people are doing regression testing, but they are also checking for the cross-site scripting or SQL injection or any kind of command injection? Nowadays they do. It is almost like if it is a automated testing. Most of the automated automated things, they usually have some cases for the SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Okay, but they do. But yes, that is good. But most of the cases, that is not part of the, that is not derived from the threat model. Like I have a, so there is a very nice debate. It's a very like first-hand experience for me. So when I joined EMC like long back, I think 9 years back. So that time, the first I found one vulnerable application which has lot of severity issues, and anybody like if you can log in as a guest and you can be a root. There are some experts, and I was pretty excited that I have found a very good error and all. So I went and then had the discussion, and people said, okay, this is a threat, but this is not a risk. That time I didn't have any idea about threat and risk. Yes, I studied it, but I didn't have the experience. Now I can articulate what it is to you, but that time it was very like all this term I know, but what you are saying, it is threat, not risk. It's a, like for, in fact, that time I used to think why the managers speak in this language that I don't understand. But yes, then they said, okay, this is an application running within the VM, and the VM is accessible only to the root user. So that means only the root can make the exploit this system. You understand? So this is a VM. The VM can be accessed only by the root, and inside the VM that vulnerable web application is running. So if I'm not a root, I cannot access the VM, I cannot access the web application.
But you logged in as a guest, right?
Sorry?
You logged in as a guest.
Yes, I logged in as a case. Yes.
Yeah, and then you took the root access. That itself is a big one.
Sorry, come again?
So you logged in as a guest, and then you took the root access.
So it's like this. This is the main system, the server. Within here there is a VM, and it has a web application. Now, if you are root to a VM, now there is two root. One root is here, another root is here. This is root VM, and also there is a guest VM. Now, guest VM can get a privilege escalation with the root VM, but this is secure. The outer module is secure. Now, who can access this VM? Only the root. Here, there is no escalation, like there is no privilege escalation. Only here it is happening. So, I was pretty excited to find such a nice flaw, but then the discussion went like this: how it is a flaw? Like if I am a root, I don't need to exploit this thing. I can run the command anyway from the command prompt. So that time it was like so this is really a critical issue, because in my report it is a critical issue. I was not experienced, but the experienced SME that time, he understood, okay, even though there is a critical issue, it is not a problem for us. Let's mark it as possible. I was very unhappy that time, but later when I also got experience, I found why it was like that, because this is the case. This is like, even though it is vulnerable, the vulnerability is not accessible to others. So I can live with this vulnerability. Now next come to the code review. Code review is a very important job. Every single piece of code should be reviewed, but that never happens, because it's not a scalable expectation as well. If you are writing code, now you are asking other people to review the code. It's not a scalable expectation of it. Even we do that, but it's really not a scalable one. Even though somebody is reviewing the code and sign it off, it doesn't mean that he has already gone through that the entire thing. It doesn't happen, right? So the alternative way is to use this one, SAST. SAST is nothing but an automated code reviewer, static code analyzer, right?
Yeah, so that is where I had a question. So when you explained that, you said that that has an external factor, the agent and the main centralized. So aren't you exposing your code to the external environment?
Because this server is inside my network only. I created the server in my cosmet.
I mean in Snipe. I'm not pronouncing
Yeah. So this server. So here I was. This is a server. Now I can put this. This might be an on-prem server also. It has a cloud server as well as it has an on-prem server.
So that's within your control.
It's an on-prem server.
No, but you said that there is multiple local agents.
Yes, that means, say, this is my office network. Within my office network only I have created
Okay,
this.
it's not for public.
Yeah, it is not public. And it can be public. There are cloud version as well. Many companies are fine to have it in the cloud, but many companies don't like. Like
Because
Dell
you don't
doesn't
want
like
to
it to
expose your
be.
code outside.
Yes, like Dell is not comfortable to that. Well, but many companies are using AWS also. You can put it in AWS. Or even not AWS, like Nice has their own server as well. It is a cloud service. It can be a, well, like they are offering it as a cloud service. But that's up to you. That is again another risk modeling, whether you want to take that risk or not. Okay. And test and test result, test plans is something, and test results is something. So this is something that this is the test plan and everything is there, but the test result will tell me that whether I am going to consider it or not, or what are the really critical, what is the severity. All these things I have to find out from the test and test results. And thirdly, feedback from the field, which is also very important. Like once I send it to the market, then also I have to keep on monitoring. That's why the cyber security side comes. Monitoring, then bug bounty, all those things come. And I have to listen to the market also. Like PSI, VR, vulnerability response. Is there any course on that? Any module on vulnerability response? VAPT is different. VAPT is vulnerability assessment. So vulnerability response is typically like today for my product. If there is one vulnerability found, like Apache, say I am a employee for Apache, and somebody found log4j. Now how the entire process works? How Apache would know that there is a problem in my code. What is the way I can communicate in the market? How can I get the feedback from the market? So these things are there. For Dell, like if you search in NVD, there are a lot of CVIDs against Dell's product. So how Dell deal with that? How those things? How you can create a CVE? Anybody cannot do that. Who can create the CVE? How it can be created? What is the timeline given to the company to mitigate? So these are part of the VR, vulnerability response. I think you have some module later, because at least last year there was a module on the vulnerability response. So this is another completely another section, section where a lot of people are engaging, and it is a completely different thing for most of the companies. They are sometimes they are calling it PSRT, PSRT or VRT. Product security response. Actually, VR and security response, vulnerability response and security response. So what happened? Every company has a like portal. Like in Dell website, you can find there is a portal where it says you can give any vulnerability. If you find any vulnerability in our product, you just report it here. So somebody can go and report there, and they'll change those vulnerability, all these things. And if it is a legitimate vulnerability, usually we pay that researcher, or sometimes we just give their name in our Hall of Fame. All these things we do. And if they are happy, they're fine. Then we ask for some time. Okay, we are fine. Very good job, dude. Give us 1 month time, 15 days time. We are fixing it, mitigating it. And only after that you can go and to publicly put it in your blog. If you don't give us that time, first of all, we are not going to reward you. You are not going to get benefited out of it. And secondly, we might create a case against you. Okay. So that's the simple way we deal with the hackers, and it's pretty much everywhere. It's same. And the second way, once it is maybe some bad guy, they really don't want to put it in the they don't want to report it to us. So then why they can report? They can publish it in their blog. That is fine. But no, that is not an official way. The official way is they have to go to NVD, National Vulnerability Database. They have to give this. This is the vulnerability I have found, and now put it in your CV list. Those guys will then call Dell, and we have a as I said, we have a separate team. Your team, they get to know about these issues, and then they find out whether this issue is legitimate. Then they say, call to that guy NVD. Okay, yes, we understand this issue. There is an issue. It will take 15 days, 1 month time to fix it. NVD now takes care of all the legalities that it should not be published. Okay. So they usually talk to that researcher. They usually like, in fact, if it is published, like if you have an CV published by you, in fact, any CV, if you go, you can find who is the researcher, who found it. So that is a very big thing, right? That is kind of a hall of fame. That music. If you write in their CV, I have reported this many CVs. And if somebody has reported a lot of CVs, he has a very good chances to be hired. So that's how it works. And then NVD actually gives that time to us. Then we mitigate, and once we mitigate it, then we publish the. Okay. And then we
So
have
you
to
will publish as well as provide the
yes, and also Dell has a responsibility to publish that from their end as well. Okay, we had this thing, this is vulnerable. Now we are asking you, all our customers who are using this one, you have to update this one. Just like Apache did. 1.4 was vulnerable. Now we are asking everybody to update to 1.6. That is those things is called security advisory. SA. So we have Dell security advisory, Apache has a ASA, Apache security advisory, Oracle has a OSA, something like that. So SA must be there. And here you remember we talked about software composition analyzer, how it works. It doesn't have access to the code, nor it can run the code. Then how it can understand that this particular component has a problem? It actually checks all these security advisories from all the companies. Like it finds I have a component from Apache, then it goes to Apache site, all the security advisory files, and it finds out which are the affected version of this particular component. And if it is there in my product, then it says, okay, this product is vulnerable. This is the corresponding security advisory. This is the updated version. That is how this thing works. This how works you understood. This how works you understood. Threat model how it works you understood. And DST already you are probably right now. By now you are master of that, right? So secure development is what we are discussing, but there are some other like security response we just discussed right now. Security features like what would be the login scheme, what would be the algorithm used by the login scheme, what would be the access control. These are the security features, right? Whether there will be a two-factor authentication or not. These are the security features. This is also part of that secure system design, right? And mostly we are right now focusing on this one, but rest of the things also we are discussing. Now one more thing, code integrity. What is that? This is nothing but every single piece of code should be signed. Signed by who? Signed, digitally signed by the company. Okay. Now, how exactly it works, we will see once we do the cryptography. Then I will explain what is the digital signature and how exactly it works. We will come to that. Okay. Was all of you know? Sorry. Sorry. It's a digitally signature. So, just as an example, say you want to download Ubuntu, maybe. Ubuntu ISO. See, here is the disturbance. This is the signature. So wherever you are downloading it, So there is a mechanism to verify this. This one is the ISO file and this is the signature for this ISO file. You can find it here. So now how to verify it? What exactly is happening? How some garbage value or some gibberish is actually representing this ISO, that will cover in the cryptocurrency class. Now tell me, you know this WASP, right? WASP you are already aware of. NIST. NIST, which standard you have heard of?
I guess RMA 853, 801,
853, yes. 800, 160.
150 cloud.
Yes, 153. 160 is secure software development is 160. So the defined standard this NIST has. Okay? And most of the American companies, they have to follow these NIST standards. Software like Carnegie Mellon has their own way. Mostly, if you have heard about CMMI, have you heard of this? Many of the companies create about CMMI. Okay, the CMMI is created by this Carnegie Mellon. CSA, Cloud Security Alliance. Yes, lot of things you know. Safe code, have you heard? It's mostly for the developers, how to create the secure coding, what are the ways to write secure codes, all these things are part of the safe code initiative. SANS, you know, SANS is mostly the training institute like ISTP and CSA. Pen testing, yes, but they also do a lot of training and certification, like GISP, GPAN, all these things are there. And IEEE Computer Society. IEEE, everybody probably has heard of IEEE.
We copy paper from
You copy paper from them. So copy, like, yeah, IEEE is more of an academic one. It's not a industry thing, but it is more of an academic one. So a lot of if you download paper from IEEE, then it is a lot of mathematics are there. So only the abstract and this. ISO, you know, a lot of ISO standards. Common criteria. We have not heard of common. Okay, I'm coming to common criteria. Any size for European Union is the European Union Information Security Agency. ठीक है, जो पता नहीं है वो पता कर लो, ऐसे तो गूगल ही तो है. But just name should not look like head to you. So the name should be like, at least you should connect with the names. Okay, कहीं तो सुना है, and ये जो चीज़ है ये करता है, मतलब CSA means okay, it is something related to the cloud security. At least this connection you should have, this mind map you should have. Rest of the thing you can always Google. You have. We really don't need to memorize anything nowadays. Okay. Now all these things, mostly we have the process model and the maturity model. Process model is what process we are following. Some process we have to follow. Like the first common criteria is based on that touch point, 7 touch point that I have shown. The common criteria mostly on that. COVID is actually a framework for lot of security controls. Audits, mostly security controls audits happen with the COVID framework. Microsoft SDL is the Microsoft Security Development Lifecycle. This is more or less most of the companies follow Microsoft SDL. So there is a story about that. If you remember the Windows 7 and before Microsoft products, they are very buggy. They have almost no security. Almost every now and then Microsoft used to push their patch in the name of security updates, and our computer gets stuck. And most of the time, whenever it is the time to shut down the computer, that time it starts updating. It used to happen in Windows 7. After Windows 10 onwards, the things are changing. Windows 10 is a very stable operating system. If you have noticed, it's very stable.
Yeah, 8 was a flaw.
It was a flaw, but After Windows 10, from Windows 10 onwards, Windows 10, Windows 11, all these things are very nice, very stable and very secure.
Also, we are seeing very less patches for this one.
Very less patches because they are already secure. They have lived bad.
Every 3 weeks I get.
In that case, you have the preview version for the operating system. You have the insider preview.
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, you have turned on your insider preview. Are you using Windows 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, that means you are using insider preview. Windows 11 is not published officially yet. It's called insider preview.
It is published. Right?
Does your office allow you?
No.
Why?
We are still using Windows 7.
Why?
7.
The business version is not published. Business version means the most stable one. For you, for consumers, they can use anything. So you have turned on the insider preview. That's why you have got the official update, but it is not the business update yet. No office, no company has not come to Windows 11. Not even Microsoft themselves.
I heard there's a lot of bugs.
There are bugs there because this is the insider preview. There are bugs. We are supposed to have got this update. We are supposed to report those bugs and we will work on that and then after some because we are the guinea pigs, yeah. But we proactively wanted to benefit because we wanted Windows 11 and that's the strategy they have and that's a good strategy. Okay. So from Windows 10 onwards, why all of a sudden Windows becomes so stable and so secure? There are something that Microsoft follows.
Yeah, bit different.
It's a process. It's a security process. Security is inbuilt in the process. Everything is process. The feature is how the feature is going to work, how the stability would work, how the reliability would work, how the usability would work, how the security would work. Everything they have modeled in that process. First of all, they did a lot of threat modeling. That's why Microsoft come up with that threat modeling tool because of they wanted this. They actually wanted to use it themselves. They said no, everybody will have to use do threat modeling. Hey, we don't know so many SMEs. Okay, we are creating a tool. Now get your developers and do the threat model. Without this threat modeling tool, you cannot publish it. Satya Nadella was that strict. You have to do this. Then the SDL. Okay, you have a security development. You have a software development lifecycle, whatever you are following. But you have to incorporate a lot of other things into that. One of them is security. Security development lifecycle is one of them. We call it security development lifecycle. It's no more just software. It's a secure software. So that they have incorporated. So that's why from Windows 10 onwards, things became much more better for Windows. Before that, almost like most of the companies, they don't want Windows. They wanted MacBook only for their business purpose. If they have, of course, to own a Mac, you need to have a lot of money. That's the only problem with the Mac. In fact, a lot of problems. Nowadays, I believe Mac has more problems than Windows.
Yeah, that is a debate which I always ask. Mac is based on Linux in a high level. Why is it so secure? And why do they call it as very secure?
Because that's the market vibe. That's the need they create. One good thing is that look, they have only one hardware, one operating system. They can test it anywhere because whatever they are doing, they have to test it in one device only. They don't need to test on thousands of devices. For Windows, it is even for Android, they have to test so many test on so many devices. It's a problem for them. But for Mac, it is scalable. For Apple, it is scalable to test on one single product. There are 3 or 4 iPhone in the market which is under support, which is in support. So they have to any new feature they have to only test for just 3 or 4. Still iOS has bugs. So now they are really like they are going through the Nokia way, I guess. But, whatever that is something different. In fact, when this iOS 13 came, Tim Cook said this is the best iPhone ever. Okay, if it is not the best iPhone, why you are updating it? You have updated to the new, you have come up with a new iPhone, that means it has to be the best. You don't need to
Maybe
tell
they are
that
referring
it
to
is
the
the best
hardware
iPhone
than
ever.
the software.
Sorry?
Maybe they are referring to the hardware than the software.
I don't know, but yeah, Apple has nowadays a lot of bugs, but Microsoft is really struggling. Even today, for Windows 11, I can see there is a difference. There is a difference. It's not crashing that way. It is very secure. Okay. In fact, once upon a time, if you just install one antivirus, then your system is super slow. Now it's not like that. So how they achieve this? So this is a case study. The biggest thing is they have used a process model and they have incorporated security into this. That's why SDL is actually a case study for all of us. And how we can measure the security, whether everything is fine or not. WASP has something called SAM and BSIM10. These are the things we can measure that whether the process is properly followed or not. And the standard ISO and FIPS. Common criteria came in 1998, which is also called ISO 15408, IOC. And the key concept is everything like these four things has to be followed. Target of evaluation, what we are going to evaluate, any system. Now, is it the entire system or part of the system that we have to define? The protection profile, we have to profile every system that how much security it needs. Then the security target, that how exactly the attackers can attack, what are the attack vectors. Then the security functional and the assurance requirement. That is the same thing that I said that how much security I want. And then evaluation assurance level. There are 5 levels on the 5 level where it exactly falls. So these things has to be defined. Now the problem is these things has to be defined. Who defines? The company who is producing it. Now they can define in their own way and they can say we are doing it right. Okay. So these are the different assurance classes we have. These are the one of them is development, life cycle, tests. We have covered pretty much everything, but this is more of a like concised into one single process model. Okay. So that's why this is a standard people follow. Okay, software development model. I'm not going into that. This is software development, not security development. We all know that there is a waterfall model. Now, in waterfall model okay, this is the agile model. Sorry, this is the spiral model, and this is the agile model. Okay, DevOps, CI/CD, and agile. Now, what happens every time for every step we have some security action item to do. For DevOps, for every step I have a security, I have a quality gate. It has to pass that quality gate, then only the pipeline will flow. It will go to the next step. So these are the things. Trainings, requirement, design, implementation, verification, release, and response. These are different phases. Training is kind of the glue bomb, which is kind of is a continuous process, but still it is Microsoft put it in their SDL. Like at the end, when the product is released, is your 100% all the developers are trained with security? They know how to write secure coding? All of them have certification? No. Even I'm not going to look at your product. If you said that no, there is 99% of them are only trained, 1% is not. No, we are not going to release your product. And developers mean in the entire development team, including the managers. They have to go through this training. They have to get the certification. Then only your product will go through. They will not check to the product if all of 100% of them are not certified. So that is one part. Now let's like these parts are now we can connect them with a different section of the different part of the software development lifecycle. Requirement, design, implementation, verification, release, and response. So here we have what we are doing. We have to do the security requirements. We have to find the threat model, risk assessment, create the quality gates, all these things. Design. Okay, well, threat model usually come in the design phase. Sorry. Threat model, analyze the attack surface, which is part of the threat model again. But if you don't do the entire threat model, at least you have to do the analyze the attack surface and the design requirements. What are the security features you want to implement? Now the implementation part, where your static analysis comes into picture. This is the major part. So here threat model, here static analysis in the implementation phase. Here it comes the dynamic analysis. Some DST I have given. First testing you can do it even with BART, with ZAP you can do the first testing, dynamic analysis and attack surface review mostly. Again they go to the threat model report and in the verification section they again check whether all these things are mitigated or not. Okay. And the release. In the release there are in the response incidence response plan, that is the vulnerability response, incidence response or product security response, whatever we call it. Microsoft call it incidence response. Any incident happen, how I am going to respond, that plan should be there. Okay, everybody with me? Fine. Okay, and then the response, once anything goes wrong, what would be my response, what would be my BCP, all these things. This is how Microsoft implemented this thing, and this has become kind of a de facto standard for agile. In our Dell, in fact, during this process when Microsoft come up with this thing, ENC was also a big partner with Microsoft. We also worked together for these things. I was not there, unfortunately, I was too young. But yes, EMC has a legacy. When I joined, like everybody was very proud that they took part of this initiative. In fact, we had lot of codes and lot of shared library with Microsoft that time. So this is these are so our SDL looks very much similar to that. It's that same plan, design, develop, test, document. Yes, this is something we have implemented. Like whatever you have done till testing, everything should be documented. It's not like that lot of reports they are staying here and there and nobody is keeping a track on that. It's not like that. We have to, like any security testing you have done, there should be a central repository where you have to put all these reports. And you have to have a consolidated dashboard for all the products and applications. So this is something we have added here. Then code signing we have added. It's just a little bit changes. So if you understand this one, this is kind of the textbook thing. And on the basis of the, like on the top of that, we have done some of the changes. EMC, like EMC, RSA, VMware and Dell, all of us are using the same thing. Okay. How our agile models look is the same. All these things we have just put it in a smaller chunk. So most of the cases, this design phase is done once, and then develop, test, document, and assure and assess. These 5 phases done in every iteration. Synopsys does in a little bit different way. They do the thread modeling later. I don't know why, but probably the meaning of thread modeling, the notion of thread modeling is a little bit different than we think the thread modeling is, or what is the textbook definition of thread modeling. But yes, for the agile SDLC train, they are calling it SDLC train for the agile model, and they said that every time we really cannot every time we do not change the design. So every time, like it should not go in the beginning, but anytime there is a feature change, we will do that. But that we will do that after the code review and the penetration testing. So after the penetration testing, there are a lot of attack surfaces are already. We will get the what are the attack surfaces, what we can find. On the basis of that, we will find what are the other attack surfaces that might have be possible. That's what synopsis. But that is a debatable thing. But it works for them, obviously.
So who are these guys? Synopsys? They are server-based storage or
45, you know, right?
yeah.
45 who 45 is a synopsis product. HP.
No.
Now it will be bought by some
We use a synopsis product, the meaning for extract schematic design.
Synopsis mainly it is the EDA industry. Like when I did my PhD, that time they used to make some embedded system design EDA micro focus. So Synopsis has what? Synopsis also has a SST tool. Just search Synopsis. Synopsis is a way. Yeah, so I'm surprised that you do not. It's a very big company, in fact.
even NAS. They,
EDA. They are actually the EDA in this very in EDA, but nowadays they are everywhere in security. They have some good SST and DST tools. Search. Yeah, Synopsys security tools. What is the SST that it wants? Over EDA. Okay, let's go to next. What is that? The two names. So they have acquired this. Most of the cases, like last 2-3 years, Synopsys has acquired like anything. You should know. They are very good, big recruiters as well, some of them, and they pay a lot. Coverity, right? Coverity is very good for yeah, SST, but for C code it was really good. All the pharma industries and all they actually use coverity. Okay, IBM does it in a little bit different way. They do the threat modeling obviously in the beginning. Then parallelly they do the code scan and the security test, and then all this information they acquire in the pen testing, and then they do the vulnerability management. So that's how that is the they call IBM SPVD.
Still they follow this model?
Sorry,
Still they follow this model?
that is at least that is there in their website.
This is like an old Finland model, right?
Yes, but it is still there in fact, because every company will have, any software manufacturer will have to put what process they are following in their security to achieve security. So this is what I will. So standard activities, what I understood: threat modeling, static analysis, security testing or DST, security scanning. Sorry, security testing is not DST. This is part of like regression testing. Then security scanning, which is DAST, and security configuration guide is something like the documentation. CMMI that I was telling, we know, so now we know what is CC, common criteria. Now this is the CMMI. Level 1 is initial. I do not know what I am doing. I do not have any idea what is security. I just don't care. Everything is working. That is called level 1. So if somebody says, hey, I am CMMI level 1, yes, I have heard people saying CMMI level 1. That means I am not doing anything. That's what it also say. And then CMMI level 2 is, yes, I know what are the processes to be secure. There should be some security process and project. And it's more of a reactive one. If anything goes wrong, if any attack happens, at least I know that how to handle that. But I'm not resilient to those attacks. Third is defined. Yes, I am more proactively moving towards security. The processes are characterized. I know what are the security processes to be used, all these things. But it's not, I really do not know how much effective they are. And the fourth level is, yes, all the processes are measured and controlled. All the security controls are in place. I know which security control does what and how much security it is providing. And the optimized is, yes, it is constant improvement. It's not a one-time process. Every time, like we have a process to improve my process. So these are the different levels. Most of the companies, like they say that they are CMMI level 5. That means they have a security process in place and they are constantly improving that process. DevOps. Okay. DevOps, I think everybody knows what DevOps is. Do I need to tell what DevOps is? At least Vijay, you are here. So DevOps, what is DevOps? Do I need to explain that? I can skip this, right? So first of all, the biggest challenge here we have is the automate security. Like so far, whatever we have learned from the SDL perspective. So this is more of a manual. Some are automated, but we don't care whether it is automated or manual. But the process should be there. That is the first step. Now, so the second step, which is we are using pipeline approach. We have DevOps. We really do not have any scope to use a manual effort. We cannot stop our pipeline. In that case, we have to do all these things automated. For that, most of these tools are nowadays like probably last year or like 2 years back. This slide was very relevant. Because most of these tools were not cannot be integrated in the DevOps pipeline, but now they are. So 2 years back when we had to create a lot of things in the integrated in the pipeline. That time we had to write lot of scripts we had to write. Nowadays it is really not required. Everything is anyway automated. All these tools, SAST, DST, if you find anything, if they are not right now automatable, they are not in the market. As simple as that. So now it's not very important, but yes, once upon a time it was really a very big thing when the first DevOps came and we wanted to integrate the SDL into the DevOps. That time we had to write the quality gates, we had to write the scripts. And the second thing is fail quickly and learn quickly. So this is kind of DevOps suite. And say, yeah, third point is that no false alarm. This is very important. 45. If you have used 45 4 years back or 3 years back, the problem is there are, I think, if I scan a good, like reasonably good big product, it used to give some 2000 errors, and only 200 or 150 of them are right. Most of them are false because it is a code analyzer. It is an automated code analyzer. Just like in my example in the buffer overflow, I have used getIs, a function which doesn't check the array bound. It throws me an error it would throw me an error in 45. Fine. Now I have added a manual line to check the array bound. But 45 will not understand that. Manual code reviewer can understand. But 45 has a very simple rule. Use getIs, throw this error. They are comparing two strings. Error throw this error. They don't check whether in the subsequent part of my code whether I have added extra measures or not. That's why a lot of false positives were there. But we do not have much scope of false positive things in DevOps. So that's why all these tools had to work a lot on that. In fact, still this is a problem for any source code analyzer, that there are a lot of false positive issues which cannot be mitigated manually or which cannot be reviewed manually. Cannot be reviewed automatically. We need a manual effort for that. And the build security champions means we have to we cannot have so many SMEs, so we have to create some people to advocate for security in the development team. And they will take care. So who will write the quality gate? Of course, the developers will write the security quality gate. Now we have to train those developers for that. And one more thing, we have to keep everything visible. Whatever is happening, it cannot be an opaque system. That is one more thing we had to change when we move towards DevOps. Because in SDL, many of the things were quite opaque. Okay. NIST SSDF is another very, this is a very recent one. Wake up, guys. Not. So far, this is 2 years back stories I was telling, but now this is a new one, executive order. How many of you have heard about this executive order that came last year? Okay. US President has signed an executive order last year, 21st March 2021, that says how to secure nation's cybersecurity infrastructure. Yes, in my note it was. So if you open that is there in their website, and there are a lot of things written. And one of the things is that you have to follow a framework for secure software development framework. You have to follow this thing. What is this? That's where this SSD comes. And today is 2018. Now today is what is it? 28. So day after tomorrow, that is 30th, is the adaptation day for this day. This is going to be bill, this is going to be passed in the US Parliament, and that's Monday. And after that, anybody is having US government as their client, they have to follow SSTA. And within another year, by 2023, the same time, this time, every company that is working in US or working with any client who is based in US, they have to follow this SSTA. Sounds good? So, what it says,
So Dell has 1 year.
sorry?
So Dell has 1 year or Dell is already working with
We are actually, yes. Michael Dell, our CEO, he's one of the, he's in the advisory board for the, for US president. And so we knew it before it came actually. And of course, we were, yeah, it is an insider information. But yeah, we know. There are a lot of other companies. In fact, IBM was there. A lot of other companies were there. They are part of their advisory board. It doesn't.
They are already following.
It don't work in India way, like.
Yeah, it's not like India that all of a sudden some bill passed, then the company comes to know. Because this is this 1 year. Last year it was there, and this 1 year it was like this. If anybody has any concern, they have to come and submit a care report on this. Now each and every report has been taken care of. Everything has been reported. Everything like everything is answered. Every single report is answered. Every single concern is answered. Now it is going to be a bill.
So any major impact with existing framework?
Yes, there are a lot. There are, in fact, we can discuss on that. Probably last day I have kept for the discussing this one because yes, it is going to impact many things, and many of the people have a lot of concern. In fact, those concerns are integrated into the bill. In fact, the new draft that has come, that is lot of changes are there based on the feedback they got. So US system actually, it was very new to me also. This is the first time I worked on US bill or how the US executive order works. I really did not know. So and one thing really I was surprised to see that they are based on feedback based. This is a feedback based system. Anybody can raise a feedback. Anybody can raise a concern and question that, and they are legally bound to answer that thing. Then only a executive order can be passed as a bill, otherwise can.
And the last two is overlaps with the Dell model, documenting.
Yeah, all of them are. But they'll like SDL team does not do, but yes, this align like company leadership should be working with development and security personnel. Yes, it is. Every like for Dell for every single BU there is something called like CISO, right? CISO is the Chief Information Security Officer of the company. Now in Dell we have BUSO. BUSO means Business Unit Security Officer. So every business unit has a separate their own security officers, and those BUSO is again in touch with our product and application security. So our senior VP is actually the CISO, and under CISO is actually interacting with all the BUSOs. They are not directly under them again. That is on purpose. All the BUSOs are not reporting to the CISO. Okay. So that there will be no conflict. Or like CISO says this is secure and BUSO says this is secure, there should not be any conflict. What happens if CISO said this is secured, shut up. Then everybody will share.
Not here and everything.
So BUSOs are directly reporting to the CEO over. Okay. That's
BISO.
BISO, business
Information security officer.
business info. Okay. And also IBM has CISO as well, right? The same thing.
I don't know they have many CISO. I don't know how in general.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the companies follow, and that's why it is bill. Otherwise, do you think Dell or IBM will let this bill to pass? No. Okay. It is, and they are in their advisory board, right? So it works in a pretty transparent way, I would say.
They have many CISOs and BISOs.
Many different units, yes, that happens. Yeah. Okay. And this is the part of, so any question on this SSDF part? It's clear, right?
So this is before development, or we are talking about.
It's overall, these things has to be there.
And if it is not followed,
Then right now for this year, they cannot get US government or any federal government as their client. And next year onwards, they cannot get any US
then
client.
how they ascertain? They'll ask some reports or how?
Yeah, NIST is the standard organization. They will come up with the standard. Now the auditor will be there, so they will audit against the standard.
They'll ask for this audited report.
Yes.
On this framework.
One good thing is there will be a lot of job opportunities.
Hope so. Hope my job is secure. Hope I will get a better raise late next year, next time. NIST 160 is NIST 800 160 is on how building secure system, and these are the different things you need to follow. These are the different section in that. Mostly main three different sections: security architecture and design, security capability, and life cycle security. Okay, so these are the things in the NIST 800 160, which is also a very important thing, I believe. So anybody is talking about 800 160, that means how to create a secure system, and these are the things in that for what you can do mostly. Okay, these are the things that we can integrate in DevOps. Here it says how much cost it would be there. Like if we find a vulnerability in the planning phase, and then more like
Sir,
more we
this is,
go.
DevOps or DevSecOps?
This is DevOps. When we put security into that, we call it DevSecOps, DevOps, whatever name you give. It is nothing but putting security into DevOps. Like don't trust these industry people, they will come up with lot of new jargons, but just try to understand what is there in the basic, what is the basic. Okay? So even DevOps, why we call it DevOps? DevOps, like why do we need a new term? But actually, do you know, it has a very easier name to remember. There's a they used to call it two pizza tea. It come in Amazon. So what happens before the DevOps were not there? DevOps is actually a product of Amazon. Okay? So what happened? Amazon, being a very big company, they don't. They thought, okay, we'll split everything into small chunks. We cannot handle, like if you have a big thing to handle, we'll just break them into small chunks. How much small? Like very small, and very limited people will be there. How many limited people? Two pizza should be enough to feed the entire team. If you have to order more than two pizza to feed your team, then you have to break the team, and you have to break something. Like you have to break the split the team into two. That's why they call it two pizza team. Two pizza should be enough to feed the entire team. Later, the same thing, the same concept, they come up with the they are calling it DevOps. Then they put in security into it. Like, it's nothing but getting some new logic, new quality gates. Nothing else. Nothing else. So, like if I add 4 or 5 new quality gates, what's like? It's the same pipeline, same thing. Again, the pipeline. Why we are calling it pipeline? Like it's okay, that's the way people love to visualize it, but it's okay, it's the same thing. I really don't find the difference if I know the simple basic thing. What is the basic, and what there must be some problem, then that is why people have come up with a new solution. Now they call the solution, they name the solution different names. Okay, so DevSecOps, DevOpsSec, SecDevOps, all these things are same. What is security controls? We all know, so I'm not going to. In fact, I will not take much time also. I think 5:30 would be our time.
Sir,
Five.
Sir,
No,
yeah,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Half the thing
Okay.
it is going above the head right now.
Okay, no problem. So next day, if we get some time, we'll just finish this quickly. Finish the security controls, because I believe you have already done these things. I'll just give you some names, some new terminologies. Just find it where they fit. Create the mind map. That's all. I really don't want you to memorize all these things. All the we don't need to memorize
Don't worry,
nowadays.
sir, we are not going to.
Yes, now there is nothing to worry as well because we are living in a world. We have access to information. Why do we
So much
unnecessary?
information to even remember.
Yes, but what we need to do, we have to create the mind map so that we can come up with new ideas that our mobile phone cannot give, that internet cannot give. Information we can give. So, in fact,
Even we have to type something to find on.
yes, that's why the mind map should be there. At least you should connect when there is some conversation is happening, you are getting a new idea. You should connect how these things are. So that's why I am more focusing to create that mind map. Okay. Next day we'll start with cryptography, and cryptography probably I believe you will enjoy that. And
Looking forward to it.
okay, sure,
So he's planning to make project in that all the best.
sure. And for cryptography class, how good you are in mathematics?
It depends.
Okay.
What kind of
If I say like school level mathematics,
calculator can be.
at class 10, not even 11. Not don't, I don't want you to know integration, differentiation, all these things. Just class 10 mathematics.
No tan theta, cos theta.
No, no, not tan theta possibly.
That's the fundamental mode is not
That was set up as a match.
But it will not be helpful anywhere.
Are you sure?
Sir,
Okay, I will come. I will come to you. You better refresh your memory with trigonometry. We'll come. We'll see. I will connect.
I will go through that.
I will connect cryptography with trigonometry for you only.
So what will cover? How triple dash work, how dash work, that kind of thing. What will cover?
So first of all, we'll start with what is cryptography, how it works, how it used to work in history, and then we'll take some very primitive ciphers, how it used to work, how Caesar used to work, how our Chanakya used to do all these things, and then slowly we will establish the mathematical model. First with the Caesar, what was the mathematical model, then here, then there, and then same thing, the same flow we will follow to reach AES and DES and etc. So that would be the next day. And also next day we will get some time after that, we will finish hash function. Okay. The next day, next to next day actually, we will start with the asymmetric cryptography, that means RSA. Okay. How RSA works. And when we discuss about hash, we will have little bit idea of what will be the RSA, how it will do. And then after RSA, after that the major part would be the PKI, public key infrastructure. How exactly things? So all these things are mathematical stuff. So all these things now I know how what a cipher is, how to encrypt my data, decrypt my data, all these things. But now how we can put them together, how we can do this system. So we'll start with the PKI. We'll create our certificate. We'll see how the certificate works, how the website works. And the assignment will be you have to write your own ciphers. Okay. And then also you have to write your you have to get some hands-on with the certificates, SSL certificate, create a or certificates.
So what are the tools we require for it?
OpenSSL, whether you install OpenSSL. OpenSSL, all of you know? Heard about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, please install OpenSSL. That's all.
Any Linux-based tools required?
Sorry?
Any Linux-based tools?
No, and one hex code and there anything.
So Windows.
Okay, then let's call off the day. Hi, Srina. Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Srinivashan. So we'll meet again in the next week.
Sure. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Diksha, or should I disconnect?